Hello, my peeps, and welcome back to Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. I am still your host, Ike, and before I get too more excited and make weird, strange noises, I'd like to just take a moment and say thanks for being here and giving this pod a listen. It really means a lot to me that you chose to use your precious time and give me and my guest your ears. Now, if after all this awesomeness you still have the wherewithal, it'd be really cool if you shared this with someone who you think would like it, or just subscribe yourself if you already haven't. That'd be dope. And if you want to hit me up and chat at me, you can always message me on Twitter at @likeikes or via email, passionandpeevespodcast@gmail.com. So as of yesterday, I am now 36. Whoop, whoop. It's my birthday. And I got to spend the night before the day before. So hold on. I am recording this on Sunday the 5th so that my editor can throw this in the podcast, which we recorded previously. My birthday was November 4th, and the day before that, on November 3rd, I spent a lovely, effective birthday dinner with past guests and great friends, Kyler Martin, Dan Silver, and Lucas Frank. Thank you so much, boys. It was very special and very awesome. Spent it eating at one of my favorite restaurants that's kind of, it feels like it's only good for special occasions, honestly, and that's Dan Sung Sa here in Koreatown, Los Angeles. Would highly recommend. The prices are quite reasonable and the food is dope as shit. On my actual birthday, Kyler Martin and myself went and played a legacy tournament up in the Los Angeles Valley, and I'm trying to remember the name of the actual town. I'm coming up dry. Fire and Ice Games, where I won a very expensive Magic card because the universe was like, nah, you got this, fam. And I won the whole darn tournament, and that was awesome. So nothing like winning and getting super rewarded for it. In the less than awesome news, I found out my back is, well, only slightly fucked up, and probably the reason I'm having pain in my shoulder and pain in my carpal tunnel. It is not surgery worthy, so it can't be fixed in that way, which is good and bad. But also there's no real fix to it other than, deep tissue massage, physical therapy, maybe acupuncture, probably not traditional chiropractor, although there are some chiropractors that the doctor I saw on the 3rd recommended, which I'm going to look into. But other than that, it's stretch a lot, do things that make you feel good, other than chiropractor, because a couple of my vertebrae are in a very precarious circumstance, and that kind of snap, crackle, pop chiropractic can really fuck me, especially somebody like myself, up. So yeah, just gonna be taking lots of ibuprofen, stretching a lot, and hoping to see some people with gentle hands. So there's that funness. Not really fun, but I don't want to say it closes a chapter, but it definitely, we're getting to the end of the book on this, which is good in its own way. It's just not the ending that was hoping for. While I am waxing poetic, I'll return to something that was at least fun. The other night when we were coming back from me winning a very expensive Magic card, Kyler and I stopped, had delicious burgers at a place close to the shop. I had my favorite kind of experience where take a friend to a thing, show a friend a thing, whether it's, a restaurant, a shop, whatever, a song, a movie, and they go, what is this called? Who is this band? Where is this? What's the name? And you've intrigued them. They find it something very enjoyable about it, and you've gotten to share this experience, and they are interested in repeating it because it is so great. One of my favorite feelings in the world. And Kyler was like, what restaurant is this? And I was like, yeah. But after we returned from said restaurant, we're walking and spending 20 minutes trying to find a parking spot in K-Town. We're walking back to the apartment where we both live, and I found myself just really appreciating all the times that I spend with Kyler and Dan and Lucas. And Kyler, Dan, and I constantly, every Monday basically, we play a Magic tournament together, short little 4-rounder, and then we retire to Kyler's apartment and have a couple libations and just, shoot the shit for an hour. And it really is one of those things that eventually that's going to come to an end. Somebody's going to move. Something's going to happen. I don't know when. It's going to be a sad day when it does. And it'll be fine. You know, all good things must come to an end. But I think this is like... since I moved to LA, I feel like I've really started to appreciate the moment in the moment. Usually it doesn't take me too far out of it. But to just note that, damn, this is awesome. And I really like this. And not just to be so far in the moment that you don't appreciate the moment for what it is. I don't know if I'm stepping outside the moment or what technical terminology it is, whatever. But as we're walking back to his apartment, I was like, you know what? Moments like this where we're just shooting the shit. It's me, you, Dan, me and Dan. I really love this. And it's so fucking cool. And just to appreciate that camaraderie. And as I'm explaining this, I was like, you know, it's just really great that, and as I'm saying this, we're walking up the boulevard. We're walking past this homeless guy, or a presumed homeless, this disheveled gentleman, I guess is a better way to put it, walking past this. You know what? I just really love that. And as I say that, I leave a small beat because I'm really just enjoying this feeling of serendipity and this acknowledgement of how lovely my life is in these moments. And not in a big way, not like, I want a Savannah, or, you know, I want an expensive magic card, that's really cool. Just like the kinship and the friendship. You know, it's really great that walking past this guy and he nearly died. It's really great that this is just so great. It's one of those unplanned moments of obscure hilarity. Just having an interjection from the peanut gallery of antithetical vibes. This is just, I'm sorry for the gentleman who's never going to hear this. I hope you feel better. Oh, holy shit, that was hilarious. And the best part is, I don't think he heard us. So he has this coughing fit, and Kyler nearly falls to the floor laughing his ass off. Because that's just amazing. It's the timing of it all. And so this guy probably thinks that we're a bunch of assholes just laughing at his misfortune, but holy crap, it's so funny. Anyway, before I get too far down that rabbit hole, this episode is with someone I actually met when I was at the World Championships for Magic in Las Vegas. Sat kind of catty corner to him at a Pro Tour qualifier, and he... just in conversation, I heard something very amazing that I was like, all right, need to interview this guy if I can. So don't want to spoil it any further. Really hope you enjoy the episode and you kind of hear what I heard. Anyway, take it away past me with the interview with Robert Stanley. All right, folks, today on the pod, I have a man who managed to get his car stuck in not one, but two driveways needing to get towed out. He won enough green to buy a gray 2017 Hyundai Elantra playing Magic in just 3 days. And like a real superhero, gets paid to wear tights. Please give a warm welcome for Robert Stanley!
Thank you, man. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Now, as the intro might make you think, if you were to ever take part in a WWF styled event, what would you want your walkout song to be?
Dear Maria, count me in.
Dear Maria, count me in.
Yeah, by All Time Low, absolutely.
Awesome. I love how you had that right off the cuff. Is that a question you've been asked before?
No, but I mean, it's there's not many songs that have more oomph to it.
Gotta have oomph in that oomph. What's the silliest thing that you believed as a child that you now look back on and just giggle at your foolishness of youth?
That one's been having me scratching my head for a while because I didn't really feel like I bought into too much nonsense when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, the most important things is that the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus are real. So
these are facts.
Yeah. So I don't really know too much about that one.
You never believed in like the tooth fairy or anything like that?
I mean, once again, you're talking about real beings here, so it's kind of hard to break these disbeliefs. Because if you're trying to show me that they're not real, we have a whole different conversation to have.
Well, while we're in the kind of general area, what myth is your favorite to either dispel or the one that you find yourself most commonly dispelling?
So I play RNG based strategy games at a very, very, very high level. So I guess the most common one is, well, I mean, there's two. It's that not all male ballet dancers are gay, and two, that strategy games are not RNG. Like, just because your deck has 60 cards in it that are random, there's a reason the best players are the best players.
Yeah. It's not just like a coin flip. There is a fair amount of difference that one player makes over the other.
Right. It's about maximizing your equity and just like actually being able to make decisions in the spots that you don't have full control over, but making the best decisions in the spots that you do have control over. But if you talk to a lot of random people, they'll just be like, "Oh, well, you just draw the right cards and like get a little lucky here?" And you're like, "Oh, well, not really." So,
well, we're kind of in that maximizing area. What's the proudest accomplishment that you have done that the fewest people know of?
I actually designed a version of a red black deck back in the Vehicles Kaladesh era, like the Heart of Kieran Glorybringer deck, where everybody played Hazoret, and I played like a more mid-rangey version that was based on, it played no Hazarets, and it was based off of just like playing Vraska's Contempt and being more controlling. And I think I was X1 at every single event at the PT level or higher. Like I X1 PT Dominaria and I X1 the Invitational playing it. I top 16 2 Grand Prix playing it. But I think I was quite literally the only person in the world playing this deck. And they wrote 3 articles on SCG and like 2 on TCG Player. And it was really funny to me because it was always my real name and then my Moto name next to each other. Because I was the only person playing this version of the archetype. And then
they were just counting you twice.
Yeah, it was literally just they were counting me twice, but my deck was so different that they had to make their own category just for my archetype because it wasn't classified in the normal version of this red black aggro deck. It was a red black mid range deck. It played Cinder Barons. It was slower, but so they couldn't. Yeah. They had to actually like separate it. And I always thought it was really funny that I did well enough as just me in like high level moto events, high level paper events that they had to make their own category just for me. And then that's how I ended up meeting some of like my friends who made me a lot better at this game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually almost played that deck at the team. Was it Pro Tour 25? The team Pro Tour at Minneapolis. Like it was like flip flopping back and forth between that and like classical red black.
Yeah.
And because I didn't do enough testing, I didn't end up playing that deck. But interestingly enough, your results ended up almost affecting the Player of the Year race. Because if I remember correctly, Seth Manfield got like 3rd or 4th in a GP, losing a match where like, because I mean, the reason you made the deck, to get very inside baseball for those who aren't Magic fans, the reason you made the deck, if I remember correctly, or what it felt like, was to kind of prey upon the pseudo mirror, right? Like just the normal like red splashing black deck. It kind of smoked it, right?
Yeah, you were just like 95% in the mirror because their whole deck was built upon Hazoret and just like emptying their hand to make their powerful card good. And my deck was just like, I'll kill your best card, and then I have 7 cards in my hand and you have 0. So you just went over the top of them. They could never win. But that was GP Providence, I believe. It was either GP Providence or GP DC. So I was at that GP. I top 16 that GP. Brad Nelson won that GP, and Seth Manfield got he died in the third or fourth or whatever.
Yeah, 4th or top 4, top 8. But if he had won one more game and he lost to the traditional red black deck, if he had won that game, he actually would have just straight out won Player of the Year that year.
Yeah,
because Salvato had to like ended up winning a GP to go to a playoff, and then they played and Salvato won, which is just nuts.
Another like random little thing was I died in top 8 for top 16 of GPDC, the Modern Horizons limited GP. And so I'm on coverage playing this like green white hate bears deck. It was Modern Horizons 2 or Modern Horizons 1 limited.
Okay.
And so I'm playing, it was green just like green and white stuff versus ninjas.
Yeah.
And I have lethal stirring address on the stack, and then coverage dies, and then we come back, and I'm playing game 3 because my opponent prohibited it, but they didn't get any of that on coverage. But I end up losing the match, and Ben Stark tweets at me saying that I played like one of the best like matches of limited that he'd seen in a really long time. You know, like he would have lost the game like 5 or 6 turns earlier, and that if he was in my seat, that he would 100% have lost, and that I was just like playing like the man on fire. I went to an SEG the next week. I had more clout for losing that match than I think if I won it. Like,
yeah, it's like how so much of the time the person who like gets second at the big event is usually kind of heralded by the pros, and like that's the deck that moves forward, not the deck that ends up winning, right?
yeah,
Like you see this like constantly pro tours, the deck that like wins the pro tour within like a month, or at least this is like the old school way. Within a month that deck kind of dies out, and the deck that was like got third is usually the deck that like champions the whole entire like next season. It was all like Mike Segrist and with the was the Abzan kind of mid-range beatdown deck at, was that pro? I'm trying to remember what pro tour that was. Pro Tour Cons or whatever.
yeah.
That deck went on to be the rest of the season. You know, it's like so many times that's just been the case. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, PTs are just metagame monsters, so it's just, you know.
Also that. What's your favorite non-musical sound?
My favorite non-musical sound. Ah. Probably glass breaking. I think the one
Glass breaking?
The sound that has me like so on edge though is like when you know when you like open up your freezer and there's like a bunch of frost in the freezer, and like the scratching, like when you scratch frost away.
Yeah.
That makes that's like fingernails on a chalkboard for me. I just cannot stand it.
But glass breaking is just, it just gets you going.
I don't know. I mean, it's a unique sound. It's cool. Or like
sure.
big heavy running water, like waterfalls and stuff like that. Like nature, big nature sounds.
Well, kind of in the same, you know, while we're in auditory land, what's your favorite drive time jam?
Drive time jam. I listen to, so at the end of every single one of my road trips, I listen to Disney playlists for like 2 hours. But
Heck
I listen to so much music, man. I listen from everything from like hardcore metal to 2000s pop punk to musicals like Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, The Heathers, all that stuff. And
all right, let me throw it to you this way then. If there's so many options, we're out at Disneyland. We find the adult portion of the park. There is supposedly, I've heard this recently, there is a like a speakeasy somewhere in the Disneyland resort. We end up there. They're doing karaoke for some reason. What Disney villain song, because we all know that those are the best ones, what Disney villain song are you going to do karaoke to?
Disney villain song, because I mean, if you're talking about like what is the best Disney song, it's Meg from Hercules actually sings it.
That half counts. Yeah, you're talking about
yeah, I Won't Say I'm in Love.
Yeah,
that's
with the muses doing backup.
Yes, that is what the best Disney song.
I'll take it. It's a strong choice. I respect that.
Or Dance the Night Away from the Barbie movie. That's a strong one.
That's a good one. Not Ken Enough though.
No, not Ken Enough. It's not. It's you know, the movie's not about Ken, man. It's about Barbie.
You say that. What's the best or most memorable piece of advice you've ever got?
Misery is optional. Like,
expound.
Grief. So like there's a big difference between like grief and being sad and like stuff like that, or depression. Like all of those are like kind of, they're unavoidable. It's hard. Like if somebody dies, you know, you're allowed to be sad about it. You know, depression is rampant. It's a big deal. But like misery, when you're just like sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, like, you know, you just don't want to get out of bed, or you know you need to do something, but you're like, oh well, whatever, I'm not good enough. But instead of like compounding on like trying to actually get better at the thing, you just sit there in your chair going, oh, woe is me. Like that mentality is like completely optional. And when somebody said, you know, grief is unavoidable but misery is completely optional, that one really stuck with me, like for everything.
That's fucking amazing. Might be trying to write that down very poorly. All right. Well, while that blows my mind, what's your favorite G-rated curse word?
G-rated curse word? Oh, my favorite like replacement word is Muppet. I love calling people Muppets, man. It's something you can like. Gordon Ramsay says it a lot, and I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan. But there's something just so satisfying about like wrapping your mouth around it, and it's applicable in almost every situation. If you want to call somebody a complete and utter moron, you call them a Muppet. And
it's great because you can do it in front of kids and grandparents, and
yeah,
they either don't get
off.
offended or they smile because they know what you meant.
Curse words make it more fun, but you know,
yeah, calling somebody a fucking Muppet's pretty freaking great.
Absolutely, or donut. Calling somebody a donut also is really fun.
Oh, that one's way better. Like maybe because I haven't heard it, but love
that's another Gordon Ramsay thing.
Yeah, no, now that you said it, I totally hear it in his voice and I remember that. But it's still so great. Well, while we're kind of in and around the whole idea and persona that is Gordon Ramsay, what's your favorite meal to make just for yourself, assuming cost and time are not relevant factors?
I cook a lot of curries. I actually cook a lot because I like to eat good food, but I don't really have a good food budget. So, if it's truly like just like labor of love kind of thing, either a risotto or like like korma or vindaloo from like absolute scratch, like grind your own spices, all of that stuff. But you know that process takes like, you know, if you're not quick about it, it can take like 30 minutes to an hour, which is tedious. It's a lot of prep.
Are you anti the like pouches you can buy at like your local grocery store?
Well, it depends on what you're doing, right? So like when you're cooking like truly authentic OG Indian food, like, you know, like I go to the Indian grocery store and I get tamarind paste. And my friend Akil, I was on the phone with him in the Indian grocery store and he was just like, bro, if you're buying tamarind, he's like, that means you're an honorary brown man. That means you could cook in my house.
That's awesome.
It's just like
earn the respect of the people. Love that.
Yeah, it happened at an Indian restaurant once because like the guy was asking me like what I like to cook, and I was just like, when my white friends come over, I cook tikka masala. When my brown friends come over, I cook a vindaloo. And I had to like remember that I was in public when I said that. I just like sat there. I was like, oh shit, I don't really know this guy. And he just like died laughing and caught my meal. I was just like, sick.
Yes. Oh, pass the respect forward. Love that.
So. But I've been going to that place for years.
That reminds me, there was this, not as awesome, but I was out picking up food from this local Thai place in Reno where my family lives. And my sister-in-law, Artemis, love you, baby, is African, like she's from Africa, her family's from Egypt, and she likes her food hot. And so I was sent with the order and I read it down. I was like, okay, order this. And then there was a meal for like my dad and my mom, and literally said next to it, white person hot. I was like, what? And I was like reading it down, and I was like, I said the name of the dish, and before I could say white person hot, they go, how hot would you like it? And I was like, white person hot. They're like, okay. And like there was no like shameful glance. They'd like heard this before. Apparently this is the way you're supposed to order. And I get down to my sister-in-law's order, do this. I was like, hot as you can make it. And they just looked at me with this look of, are you fucking serious, white boy? And I was like, yeah. I showed them the piece of paper. They looked at me. I was like, they're like, they gave me this look. I was like, she's not white. And they're like, okay. Then they agreed to make it.
Yeah, no, I have a friend who has to, he likes his food spicy. But you know, he has like one of the whitest names you've ever heard. So whenever he calls in his order, he actually, Josh. Yeah, he uses an alias, uses a different name. Because he said that if he doesn't do that, they don't make his food hot enough. But since he started doing that, they actually.
I love the way that goes both ways. One is they're trying to be nice to him because they don't want to fuck over a customer. That's beautiful. And then he's like, all right, I respect that, but
like, yeah, he's like, I actually want the food that I want.
Yeah, it's like counterplay of the most like friendly nature. That's so beautiful.
Well, it's just the problem is that like a lot of white people will just think that they can handle it and they can't.
Oh yeah, they can't. No.
Because pepper's spicy, stuff like that. But God, seasoning your food is just a miracle. It's a science sometimes, man.
Well, while we're in the kitchen, fuck, marry, kill, fork, knife, and spoon.
Fork, knife, and spoon. Honestly, forks are kind of useless. You can get almost everything you need done with a spoon if you really had to come down to it, but you cannot eat soup with a fork. So, like if you have a knife, you can get things bite sized enough that you can spoon it around.
Stab it with the pointy end. Yeah. It sounds like you're not a pasta man.
Oh no, I love pasta, but again, you can like spin it around your knife. You're chilling, like you can finesse it a little bit. But again, if they give you a liquid and you have a fork, or just simply fucked.
Yeah. That's the name of of my next restaurant. Simply fucked. All right, Baracha. Given the opportunity, what's your favorite story to tell?
Circle back to me on that one. Let me think about that for a second.
You got it. What would you say is your biggest everyday temptation?
My biggest everyday temptation is not to go to work. Some days you're just like, man, your alarm goes off and you're like, do I really have to do this?
What is money? Do I need it? How bad would it be to live out of a cardboard box?
It's like, can I please just go back to bed just for like another hour?
What's your last or perhaps most memorable dream?
Oh, my dreams are like plainly ordinary. Like sometimes my dreams are literally just like, you have like an odd day and then something clicks on it, or you like fall and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, wow, what the fuck was going on? But my dreams are not that exciting. Sometimes you have dance dreams though, which are like you're doing something and it's too lit. Like you're doing like 15 pirouettes. You're jumping 10 feet high. And
everybody's got those dreams. But yeah, everybody has that dream. That's really run of the mill.
That's a pretty standard dream.
Do you wake up having done that and then forget? So brief kind of spoiler, your occupation is being a ballet dancer.
Yes.
So I've had dreams like that. So before I changed occupations, for the better part of 15 years, I was a poker and blackjack dealer.
Okay.
I would occasionally, it's usually when I like took breaks from work and came back and then got in the rhythm of things. After like the first week, I would wake up on, day 6 on like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever day it was that I had off. Mm-hmm. I would wake up having a dream where I was dealing a hand and something had gone slightly wrong. Somebody was acting out of turn, something like that. And I would wake up trying to rectify the circumstance. It was really weird. It happened pretty constantly after like long breaks or like job changes.
Yeah, I mean, your brain is just permanently on poker, permanently on blackjack.
Yeah, exactly. So for you, when doing that, when you have those dreams of dancing, do you ever wake up being like, shit, I fucked that up? Or like,
no, normally you wake up, like if you're having dance dreams, you're like the man on fire. Like you're doing stuff that is just like beyond the scope of realism. So
do you wake up and just be like, damn it, I wish I could do that in real life?
Yeah, literally. You're just like, well, like if I could do half of that, that'd be pretty dope. But
just wake up, shit! I thought I was having the best routine of my life. Speaking of dance, as it is your line of work, do you have a favorite industry secret or term that's only used in your line of work?
I mean, kind of all of ballet is like only used in ballet. It's French. So I mean, all the terminology is French. I don't really think that there's like any, because I mean, we warm up the same way that any athlete would, like as far as like what we would do terminology wise. dancers count everything, so like you count everything. You have to count the music, but again, like musicians do that.
What is the most common in a lot of movies, especially when it comes to acting, music, dance? There's always like, all right, let's take a 5, let's take a this. What is the most common break? Like a take 5?
Yeah, so like so the normal day is like you have a company class, so like you come in, you take class, and class is like a 45-minute warm up, and then 45 minutes of kind of like doing the shit that you have to do throughout your day. Ballet is like it's like chess. It's a solved game. There's a correct way to do stuff, and there's an incorrect way to do stuff. So you have to do like the warm up and the bar and all that is like designed to set you up for your whole day. Like it's designed to get you on your leg. It's designed to wake up all your muscles. It's designed to like do all that, and then you do it all in center because that's you don't have a stick to hold on to while you're dancing. You have to do it all in center. So after you're warm, you have to go do that, and then after that's normally like an hour and a half to 2 hour class, and then this is like the longest break of the day. It's like a 15-minute break, and then it's just
so long.
Yeah, you'll have like a 5 in between bar and center, which is like your warm up and like the rest of class. Like go to the bathroom, fill up your water, change your shirt, stuff like that. And then you have a 15-minute break, and then you just start rehearsals, and then your rehearsal schedule. It really just depends on how crammed your rehearsal schedule is, because I mean you could just not be in a piece or not scheduled to be in a piece. So you have like an hour break, you have an hour and a half break or whatever, because you're just not called to those rehearsals. But then you could also just have a full docket, and you're firing off like rehearsal, and you have like maybe a 5-minute break in between each rehearsal.
All right, just in case, even though this is kind of leaning into more the main segment, but before I forget about it and it slides under the rug. So you're having all this. It's like you said your longest break is like 15 minutes. So do you just eat breakfast and dinner, and there's like basically no lunch?
Dancers graze a lot. Like,
sorry, I'm imagining you guys like gazelle, just like bending over at the waist, like eating fries off the floor.
I mean, that's kind of what happens. Like,
dude, that's a bit that you should film at work, given the opportunity. Just buy McDonald's and like lay it on the floor and shoot it cinematically, just coming by and just doing all these like crazy bendouts. That would destroy YouTube, I promise you.
Everybody just has like their bag of granola in their bag or something. Like some people, like, I have a hard time eating in the mornings, so like I eat very lightly in the mornings, and then I eat a little bit more in the midday, whatever. But I mean, you just don't really have time, and you also don't want to eat like a big meal in the middle of the day, because then you feel like shit, and your body, you just feel heavy, like you just don't feel good. So like it's just like lots of random little things. So like granola, nuts, yogurt, salads, half a sandwich, stuff like that.
Yeah, something like, really light that gives you like a little bit of gas in your tank.
Yeah, you want like instant energy. Like fruits are really good. And then you need a little bit of carbs so it'll actually stay on your stomach and not just literally like piss right through you. Because if you literally just have like an apple or an orange or something like that is about an hour's worth of energy, and then your body's fried.
Yes, you need to balance out your energy intake.
Yeah, you need something solid, because I mean, like, dancers consume as many, like, they burn as many calories as athletes, like Olympic athletes do, like NBA players, NFL players, all those things. Like, dancers use the same amount of energy expenditure, so they actually need to eat the same amount, which is why a lot of the dancers with eating disorders break, is because they're not properly fueling their body, and you're doing basically gymnastics with no mat, and then your body just can't keep up.
Well, also the kind of L that's mixed in here is you're having to do the same thing as an athlete, except you can't look like an athlete. Like an athlete and an athlete can look however they want. It does not matter. There are UFC fighters that look like a fire hydrant. They are as tall as they are wide. They are just these masses. If they win, it does not matter. A ballet dancer can't, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is a ballet dancer cannot do their job. Like, even if they could do their job perfectly, if they look a certain way, they're probably not going to get get to stay in the company. There is
a certain aesthetic that ballet kind of has, and that stigmatism is like sort of starting to die out a little bit as some of the old heads in ballet die out. People are realizing that you're allowed to look like a person. You don't have to be like 105 pounds dripping wet or 160
a wire
pounds.
frame. Yeah,
and that like healthy dancers actually porn better. It's a crazy concept. But ballet is so riddled with abuse that it's really like, and a lot of these older arts are, that it's kind of hard to see past all of that. But a lot of people, like a lot of the newer generations of people, are like, hey, like everybody is a ballet body, like you can do that. Now, that being said, there's a difference between being out of shape and being in shape and just having like different body structures. Because I've seen some big dudes do some crazy shit, but they're not like fat big dudes. They're just huge.
Big dudes, yeah.
Because there are certain things that, like, anatomically ballet does not coincide with. Like, as humans, we're very parallel creatures, and ballet's all turned out, and like the way you have to cross your legs like doesn't really contribute to having, like, if you have these giant quads or big butts and stuff like that, it doesn't, it's actually hard to do the technique.
So you're saying ballet dancers can't twerk?
I mean, I'm not saying that. I can't, but
that's my takeaway.
I know some people that can.
So in there was a couple of really nice nuggets, which lead me to ask, what decision in life are you the most proud of making?
Decision in life am I the most proud of making? I mean, it's probably not giving up on what I actually want to do. Like, I didn't go to college. I was homeschooled. I got a GED when I was 20. It's not that I didn't. It's not that I was bad at school. It's that I fucking hated doing it, and I had no. I was the online program that I was in had no deadlines for anything, so I could just procrastinate anything to the end of time and just like never actually have to do the work. So like, I was a straight A student, and I could have like done, I could have gotten like a coding job or a tech job or whatever, and like told a general how to turn his computer on and off for 67K 70K a year. But it's just, it's not what I wanted to do. So I skipped all that shit and I went straight into a ballet company, and I've just like figured out alternative ways to try to make a living, which is, between dance and magic and just like taking like the hobbies that I'm good at and the things that I enjoy and like just networking my way through life, kind of.
Hell yeah.
Because I mean, like, without all of those things, I don't think I'd have met any of the people that I've met that have actually like made a serious impact on my life. But I mean, I guess probably it's just doing something that isn't run of the mill.
Yeah. No, doing what you want to do despite the hurdles and like focusing, staying true to your passion. That's lovely, man. What's your favorite book, comic book, cartoon that you think would either be a great choice or a terrible choice for a big screen adaptation?
Yeah, I have not. I don't read a ton of books, and unfortunately, the one book series that I do love already had a big screen adaptation, and it was terrible.
What was that?
It was the Percy Jackson series.
Oh God, yeah.
They're
redoing it though.
They are redoing it, and Rick Riordan has like his hands on deck for that. I think of my favorite IPs, a thing that would be a terrible on-screen adaptation would be Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that one would be really bad, but also very likely given Disney's proclivities.
Yeah, it would not be great.
Is there something that you found is surprisingly worth the money or surprisingly not worth the money that people should either save or spend their money on?
Seats on airplanes. It goes both ways. Like, you know how much cheaper your flights can be if you just don't care about where you sit. Like, you can honestly save like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, if you don't care what airline you're on or where you sit on the airplane.
Yeah. That being said, that goes the other way as well. There are a lot of flights where I would very much rather have spent the extra $200.
Yeah. You gotta know your price.
That is for sure. Also, just like cook your own food. Don't buy the processed shit. Honestly, costs more money than buying fresh, like a lot of fresh foods. If you save so much money by not door dashing, or just like instead of paying a delivery fee, just get in your fucking car and drive to pick it up, or walk to pick it up, or do something. You will save thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, for sure. No, I remember talking to somebody who had like the DoorDash premium when I
Yeah.
was dealing high limit poker, and I was just like, I like at one point I asked her like how much like a year that cost. She goes, "Oh, it's totally worth it." I was like, "Yeah, but like how much is it?" And the number just like I almost ran my head into the door. I was just like so blown away by her answer. It was something crazy. I was like, "Jesus
Yeah,
Christ!"
I know people that, you know, like all the streamers and whatnot save like $10,000 to $15,000 on delivery fees because I mean, they never leave their house. But at that point, like, who cares if they're spending an extra $15 to get it delivered?
Yeah, there's a certain point where it's your time becomes more valuable, or like going outside, especially if you're like famous, yada yada. But yeah, for us regular normies.
Yeah, just get in your fucking car and drive the 5 minutes, man. It's really not that it's not that serious, and
No.
some nights are different than others. But also, like when you order food online, and if you don't order it like at the restaurant, even the prices are higher, like because they have to
Yeah,
pay
that
for the domains.
yeah,
Like
there's like there's fees that you see which you forget about, which are absurd, and then there's they do change the cost of the item, and they will frequently it doesn't show
it's
it,
not
which is
small
whack.
either. It's like $3 to
No,
$4 per item.
yeah, it's like a lot of the time it is like 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It adds up so fast.
If you were
It's
buying like
wild.
more than one thing, you're looking to spend like an extra $20 to $25 just because you didn't want to order at the restaurant or call them. If you call them, they have to give you the restaurant prices.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that last one.
Yeah.
Sneaky. All right, to circle back, given the opportunity, what's your favorite story to tell?
My favorite, one of my favorite stories is probably, um, I have two. One's more, I guess, reasonable, and the other one's a little bit more, kind of in the magic hood, I guess.
All right,
But
let's go reasonable.
reasonable is it was my first ever pro tour. I'm playing a pro tour Dominaria, and I'm in day 2 of the PT. And so for the people that haven't done like call drafts before, where you're doing like high level drafts where you have a caller, like um a judge stands behind you and says you have 60 seconds to look at the pack, and you look at the pack, you pick a card, and they count down the call the whole time. But they give you the 3 packs they give you are already opened, they're checked by the judges, they're stamped so that they know that you're not cheating. Um Now the top card and the bottom card are both facing different directions because they want to make the packs uniform so that you can't see cards on the top or the bottom depending on how the packs are facing. And they make a big point of it. It's really stupid. They bitch at you nonstop. They're like, make sure that when you're flipping your pack or whatever, that you don't see the cards in the pack for any extra time because they don't, you don't want you to have extra information of what you're looking at. And so I had never done any one of these until I went to the Pro Tour. And it was bugging the shit out of me because on day 1, like I kept seeing an extra card, like a random card in my pack. And for those wondering, no, it doesn't matter. Like you're gonna look at this pack anyways. If you have 2 seconds to know that you have a busted rare, it doesn't fucking matter. Um, but it was really, really bothering me like a lot because it was my first pro tour, and I just like procedurally wanted to do everything right. I didn't want to like um, mess anything up. So my day 2 pod, I'm 4-4. I barely make day 2 because I 0-3'd my first draft. And in my day 2 pod, I'm sitting in between Reed Duke and Sam Pardee, and the other people at my table are Makahito and BBD, and it's a 7-man pod. So I'm just like, great, this is my day 1, or this is my day 2 death pod with like
Yeah,
two
exactly.
Hall of Famers and like 3 of the best players on the circuit. And so I'm sitting in between Sam and Reed, and I I go, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna ask Reed. I was like, is the top card and the bottom card like is the card that's facing the wrong direction always the same card? Is it the top one or the bottom one? And Reed looks at me just confused as hell. He has no idea what's going on. And I'm just like, he goes, well, what's your question one more time? I was like, is the top card and the bottom one, like, are they facing the same direction in each pack? And Reed leans over to me, and it's day 2 of the PT. He goes, all right, so you're going to take your first pack and you're going to pass it to the left. And then you're going to take your second pack when you open it, and pass it to the right. And I was like, oh, no, Reed. Like, I know how to draft. I just, like, I kind of just wanted to know which card was facing the wrong direction. And he, like, backpedals immediately. He's, like, super apologetic. He's like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you or anything like that. I was like, no, dude, it's totally fine. And Sam Pardee looks at me. He goes, just put the pack in your lap, flip them all the same direction. Just don't drop it on the fucking floor and you'll be fine.
Oh, you love to hear it. Well, as we come to a close of our first segment, if you could have listeners of this pod hear one song of your choosing, which would it be?
Watchmaker by Hands Like Houses.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to throw it to our sponsors, so please stick around. But hey, if you've got all the doodads you want in life, why not take a minute and enjoy Hands Like Houses by Watchmaker? Or if you really wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, check out the playlist on Spotify. Passionate People and Preposterous Beef podcast, Song Rex. It's a long title, I know. Don't worry, there's a link in the description. Either way, see you in a bit. Do you need 100 pounds of butter? Come on down to Company Street Company.
What if I need 30 gallons of olive oil?
Come on down to Company Street Company. But what if I just want one flatless bird roasted for a reasonable price? Come on down to Company Street Company.
Okay, but...
Just come on down to Company Street Company. We have everything for a better price, free snacks, and employees who don't want to kill themselves, or you, because we treat them like fucking human beings. Yeah, but, yup.
Even...
Just get your ass down to Company Street Company, where the only sketchy thing we've ever done is enable frozen orange juice hoarders. Welcome back, everybody. So, here with my boy Robert. And gotta know, Rob, as we talked about earlier, your passion. Ballet, perhaps?
Yeah, I've danced ballet since I was 4.
Sheesh! So is that something that your parents got you into? Did you watch performance, want to do it? A little bit of column A, column B?
I literally just saw a performance and was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Can I do that? And my mom was like, yeah, sure. And then she enrolled me in classes, and that's literally how the whole exchange went.
That's so awesome. 4 years old, just choosing your destiny.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it looked fun. I thought it looked cool. I guess I don't really remember how this interaction went, but that's how my mom tells me it goes. I just know that I've been dancing. I mean, I've been dancing as long as I can remember. So,
how do you remember what your earliest memories of ballet? Were you above the rim? Were you really bad but enjoyed it? Somewhere in the middle?
So dance when you're a kid is kind of like organized movement. There's
shuffle to the left.
No, literally, they get a bunch of kids in a room, and they're like, and you're a wizard, and now you're gonna stir the cauldron. We're gonna do this and stuff like that. And it's also I didn't go to a dedicated ballet school. I was going to Sally's Tap and Twirl kind of places.
Awesome.
These they're these competition studios. So they offer ballet, they offer dance or whatever, but it's not really that good. They kind of just do everything, and then it's more of an after school program than anything else, as opposed to I have some friends that when they were 8 years old, they went to boarding school and shit. They had very serious right off the bat English, Russian training, Royal Ballet level training. And I'm just I did not have that.
Do you, looking back and at the time, do you wish you had that, or are you grateful and appreciate the kind of upbringing you had instead?
I think I lived a very different life than most. I think I don't think I was enough of a bunhead or just somebody who really, really, really wanted.
All right. So retroactively, we're adding that as your
my
term
slang
from
thing.
your yes.
So
bun.
Yeah. Well, so in ballet, girls have to wear their hair in a bun. It's just standard. It's just the standard thing. So a bunhead is somebody who just eats, sleeps, and breathes ballet. They just can't get enough of it. And I don't really think I was ever at that point, because I was kind of a homebody when I was growing up. And I like to play games and stuff like that. So it would have been giving up one for the other, which is something that I still kind of have a hard time wanting to do, is giving up one for the other. Because
you wouldn't consider yourself a bunhead?
No, I mean, I spend just as much time as I need to in the studio, and I do it because it's fun. I'm not the person who's staying 3.5 hours after class working on pirouettes and doing that. That's never been me. I do that for games, oddly enough, but I don't do that for ballet. I do it. It's fun and what makes me happy, and that kind of stuff is it's really easy to let it eat at you, because as a dancer, your job is to literally practically strip down naked and stand in front of a mirror and critique yourself all day, and that's just mentally taxing after a while. And so I do think it would have been a different life for sure, because like obviously it would have like I would be probably a lot better at dance than I am currently, and I would have made different connections because like I have friends who that I knew from like summer programs and stuff like that who did the whole boarding school thing. You know, they're monsters now, but I mean, like their life is ballet. That's it. And you know, my life is ballet and magic and teamfight tactics and all these big online games and these giant communities that are just like very different. And I don't think I would have met like any of the people in my life if it wasn't for magic. And there are some people in my life that I definitely wouldn't have met if it wasn't for ballet. But my magic
So,
friends are incredibly unique.
so would you say you're living your dream involvement with ballet, or at points in your life did you want it to be different than it is now?
I am close to where I would want to be in dance. If I was probably like one step higher in the food chain, that's where I'd want to be.
Can for those of us, me, and probably everybody else listening, what does the food chain kind of look like in that regard?
Well, so like every company has like a very similar structure, which is apprentice like traineeship, which is normally like kids fresh out of school. They go and they're just like unpaid, kind of just unpaid work. They do a lot of the stuff that they don't want to pay the dancers to
So
actually do.
interns.
Yeah, basically. And then there's apprenticeships, which is like the tier above that. That's like the most junior level of the company. Like trainees are not quite company members. They're like sort of, but not really. Apprentices are like the bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the bottom of the barrel. Um, that's
Is
like a
apprentice
pay.
like a job, or is it more like
Apprentice is more of like when you're a trainee, a lot of the time you pay for the privilege to be there. At apprentice, you're at least not paying for the privilege to be there, and you're performing with the company, like you're dancing with the corps and stuff like that. The corps de ballet is um the main meat of your company. Like without the corps, your company doesn't function. Any company that has a weak corps is a shitty company. It doesn't matter how good your principals or soloists are. If your corps sucks, you suck. And the corps is like dancers dancing in unison. Like it's the majority of all ballets. Like when you go watch Swan Lake or you see the Nutcracker and you see like Snow and stuff like that, and all of the dancers dancing together doing the exact same thing at the exact same times, that's your corps de ballet. And if your corps de ballet is out of sync, um, it's just not good. And the weird thing is the corps de ballet is like the lowest of the tiered positions in the company because everybody wants to be a soloist, everybody wants to be a principal, everybody wants to do big things. And then so after you get out of the corps, there's demi soloist, and then once you've been there for a while, you're a senior soloist. A senior soloist is basically a principal. They will dance like a lot of the same things that the principals will dance. The main difference between a senior soloist and a demi soloist is that a senior soloist is normally a much better partner than the demi soloist is. So like some soloists are just like really good tricksters. Like they can do all the variations, they can do the turns, they can do the jumps, they can do the things. But as soon as you make them dance with somebody else, they suck. They just like can't. They can't do it.
Okay.
So like the senior soloists are a lot closer to principals in that sense, and principals are like the creme de la creme. They've been with the company for like 10 years, 6 years. They're amazing. They dance all the big name roles and stuff like that. They're your sugar plum fairies and stuff like that. And they're each company has like the big companies have like a 20 to 30 man core between A and B cast, but then they have like 12 soloists and 6 principals. So it's like it is very elite at the top. It is not like a light thing to be a principal.
And what position do you currently hold?
My company isn't tiered that way because it's so small. So like my company is about 12 dancers, 12 to 15 dancers. So all of our contracts just say dancer. We all just dance. But like as a guy, like somebody has to do the things. So I'm dancing like a lot more of like the principal soloist roles and stuff like that. A lot of the of the respective ballets that we do because they're the ones that require partnering work. So like for our Nutcracker this year, I'm dancing Cavalier, which is the partner to the Sugar Plum Fairy. So that is a principal role in its regard to that ballet. So I'm dancing a lot more of that work. And the companies that I've danced at in general have been sort of similar structure of like 15 to 22 people. You kind of just whatever you're good enough to do is what you do. Um, Obviously, and the guys take a more heavy workload in the partnering aspects because somebody has to do it, and there is normally more girls than there are guys. And you can be a shitty dancer, but if you're a good partner, you can make it very, very, very far.
So, would you say you're happy with the position you have and the company you're in, or would you, obviously, if everything, was at your disposal, everybody usually wants more. But given the reality that we all live in, are you happy with this, your kind of place in
Yeah.
the dance kingdom?
Well, I don't particularly think this is my ceiling by any means. So I think there's still room to like move up as far as like where I'm dancing, what I'm doing, things like that. Where I'm at this year, because dance is all seasonal, it's kind of like the school year. Like this contract started in August. It'll end in uh, the beginning of April. It's a pretty short contract. Most contracts are around nine to 10 months. This contract, I believe, is 7 to 8 months. Part of that is just because it's a smaller company. They don't have a lot of money. It's their first year. It's a startup, things like that. But the vision that this company has is like a lot different than a lot of other companies in general. Like the big companies don't give a shit about anybody because all they do is they just churn through it. There's a million girls who wake up and they're like, I want to be a ballerina. And there's a bunch of guys nowadays even that are like wake up and they want to be dancers because um dance is cool now. Like media has made dance cool. Like TikTok has made dance cool. Television has made dance cool. Like all of these things have made dance cool. As opposed to when I was a kid, I used to get beat up for wearing tights and shoved in lockers and shit and just like bullied incessantly. Like, like the neighborhood kids would fucking beat the shit out of me because they thought it was funny because I was some lame dork who liked to wear tights instead of play football. But nowadays
Yeah.
that's not the case. Like you're treated like royalty. It's cool to be a dancer. Um and
Do you ever
But
find yourself kind of giving shit to any of the younger up and comers because of like they're getting to not getting a free ride but getting like a much softer pass?
I mean, sometimes because it really just depends on like where you trained, right? Because like some of these people like the the psychopaths that actually like teach are, some of them are actually psychopaths. Like they're just like nutty old Russian men who are just like evil fuckers. And there's a lot of nepotism in ballet. There's a lot of like just structural hierarchy, and there's a ton of abuse, like a ton of abuse. So the big like focus of the company that I'm at is like to take some of the abuse and like the fear and like all of the self-loathing kind of out of the equation and just have everybody
That's awesome.
dance.
Yeah.
So it's weird to say that a situation where your dancers are treated fairly and well and like are healthy is an uncommon concept, but it generally is a pretty uncommon concept. A lot of dancers get injured and don't tell their directors that they're injured and dance on broken toes or stress fractures or just like pulled muscles, torn muscles, anything, because this is your one shot, and if you're down for 3 months you get fired, you straight up. Like at some of these big, like they will just fire you, like, and it's fucked up. And some places that's not the case because some companies are unionized and things like that, but they just won't renew your contract. And that's basically the same thing. And if you didn't have time during the audition season, because the audition season is about January to March when contracts go out and people get their feedbacks and like if they're going to stay with the company, if they're not going to stay with the company, that's your time, that's your window to go look at other places. And people are going to like build their rosters for the year based off of that. So like if you're down during that time, it's like a pretty important time to be down. And then you're looking at having friends in high places at that point. You're looking at knowing people who know people or being friends with somebody. Like I'm friends with a lot of people who, if I needed a job, could probably get me, like I could come take company class with some random company and be like, and they'll see me that way, like that's your interview, is you go take class.
So you were talking about how these contracts are really small. Is this a job where most people find themselves either living in major cities where there's multiple companies that they have access to, or just moving a lot?
Well, it just depends on if you found a place that makes you happy or not, or if you found like a place that's like.
So is it by the sound of that, it sounds like it's relatively common to get your contract renewed then?
Yeah, if you enjoy the company that you're at, and like obviously like if you're a good fit, like it's not crazy to get renewed or things like that. But some people like want to dance different rep, or they like aren't happy with the contract that they were offered, because I mean sometimes you just get offered a shitty contract and you're just like, I was down for this last year but I'm not down for this year, like I've been here for 3 years or whatever, like I want to pay, I want to raise, or like I want a different position or a different title or things like that, because they don't want to just be stuck dancing the same thing their whole lives. um but I mean, like moving is like fairly common, like dancers come and go all the time, like people bounce around from one place to another. Once you're like high up in the food chain, like you don't see a lot of like senior soloists and like principals and stuff like that leaving because they're the biggest fish in the pond. Like they're happy where they're at. Like
Yeah.
they put in the time at that company and they don't want to put in the time somewhere else. That being said, like if you were a principal or a soloist at a company, it is pretty easy to become a principal or a soloist at another company. Like if you were at a
Yeah.
reputable company or something like that, because you just like have the resume, and if they have the position to give to you, you'll get it. Like I have a friend who, like, Boston Ballet is one of the largest companies in the United States. It's one of the largest companies in the world. But he was a senior soloist for Eiffman Ballet, which is a huge Russian company. He danced there for 10 years, something like that. And he came over to Boston Ballet on a handshake deal because he just needed to get the fuck out of Russia, because Russia is not a good place right now. And they brought him in as a core member, and but that's just kind of like to test his synergy or whatever with the company. And after 3 months, they were announcing, look at our newest senior soloist, Daniel Rubin or whatever. So he was fast tracked for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Is making friends something that happens a lot in the industry? You're talking about people that you know within ballet, who's in Russia and then he's in Boston. And if I'm remembering correctly, you live in Florida. Is there a lot of like, do you see each other more as, flowers isn't the right word, but just looking at each other more as, fellow sportsmen who are both looking to kind of up their game or appreciate each other's art form? Or do you see each other as adversaries?
I mean, that's a case to case basis. I think friendly competition is like good. I'm not even in the same fucking pond as that guy, so it's kind of hard to compare myself to him. He's a
Sure.
fucking monster. Um, but I mean, like, the ballet world is so small that you run into the same people all the fucking time. Like when you're on the audition circuit, you know everybody who's on the audition circuit by the end of the year. And like a lot of my friends, like I went to the same summer program a lot. It was Cincinnati Ballet Summer Intensive, and I went there for like 6 or 7 years. And I faces I saw there, I saw 2 or 3 years later at different companies and different auditions and things like that. Pretty much if they're in your age bracket, it's pretty likely that you run into them again somewhere down the line.
So,
And it is a rather cutthroat environment, but I will say it is mainly a cutthroat environment if you are a girl. If you're a guy, nobody gives a shit. Part of that is the golden penis rule, which is like, it's there's one guy to every 300 girls. So
oh, okay, yeah. So the competition's a lot thinner.
yeah, it's just,
You're not having to make yourself like that well known.
I've seen it
Comparatively speaking.
it is a lot less catty between the guys than it is between the girls, and it is not because the guys are not catty. There are some fucking princesses, but like, it's mainly just because I guess there's just less of a need for competition.
Yeah.
So or
When,
like
the likelihood of
competition that
scoring a
degree.
spot. Yeah. When you're more likely to, like, just mathematically more likely to score a spot, it makes it so you'd feel less like inclined to push yourself forward, probably.
Yeah, not necessarily that. There's just like a lot less. You don't feel like you gotta like take them out at the knees to get your job. Like,
yeah. So to kind of revert back, you're starting off 4 years old, you're doing that, you're working. When do you think you first thought of this as a job that you could do? Like, when did you either first think about, oh, that's a job I could do, or that's a job I wanted to do?
oh, I kind of always just wanted to do it. I hadn't really put a lot of thought into doing something else. I kind of just was always like, oh, I just want to be a dancer. I mean, my dad was a pilot, so I was just like,
Oh, you were raised with the idea of a non-traditional occupation pretty much from get-go then, yeah.
My mom was the head of the ICU in DC, and my dad was a pilot. So like my parents already weren't working in cubicles. Like they
yeah.
there wasn't a lot of pressure on me to like get a job in high school, like a full-time job or anything like that. Like I've ballet's a rich kid sport for sure. Like you don't make a lot of money, and you need a lot of support, and you need a lot of time to like actually be able to grow and like get on your feet, because a lot of people don't get paid for like get paid at all, like in the first few years at their job. Like, so without that support system, it's kind of hard to do. But my parents were always very like about like, if this is something that I want to do, this is something I could do. And so I kind of just did that. I mean, I didn't go to school for honestly fucking anything other than I always just had the idea that I would end up at a company or end up dancing at some point or another. And then as far as like the other hobbies go, like I was homeschooled, so magic was a way to get out of the house. And then I just kind of like I'm really competitive, so I just like got adopted into a play group and started traveling and playing tournaments, and then I started getting better at that. Then it just kind of cascades.
So before we go back into more kind of lighthearted questions, one of the things that ballet, as it is such a physical sport, is that it has I would imagine, I guess, before I stick my foot too far out in front of me, that there is a kind of half-life. There is a point at which you're kind of done.
Ballet does have an expiration date for sure, and it really depends on how well you take care of yourself on the way up. So like, again, like, back to people dancing on broken toes and getting like a lot of people run their body into the ground, have 2 surgeries by the time that they're 28 and they're done by their 30s. And it just is what it is. At that point, you have 2 rods in your legs and you just can't dance anymore. A lot of dancers' primes are between like the ages of 25 and 29. But some people like don't hit their stride until their young 30s, and they don't stop dancing until they're in their 50s. Like, if you are taking care of yourself, like, you can honestly dance for as long as your body holds up. And that's different for each person, just like, how well do you eat? Do you go to the gym? Like, do you stretch? Do you take care of yourself? And even though you're done dancing, it's kind of hard to like hang up the shoes forever. Like, you're not really out of the game. Like, a lot of retired dancers teach, or have some involvement one way or another, because I mean, like, you spent 25 years of your life dancing. Like, you're not really good at anything else. Like,
what do you you're how old?
I'm 27.
So what is your, is that kind of what you're looking at? Is, it is a long time. It is basically another half your life, ostensibly, until you're 50.
Yeah.
When it's likely, that's probably, going to be the the twilight years or whatever. But after that, do you see yourself teaching? What is your kind of...
I used to not, but I think that after I've done it some, like, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy having some form of involvement in that. Like, as far as like making a living goes, like, it's between that and like some form of esport or something. Because I mean, the games that I play, you can have old man hands and play. Fine.
It's not like StarCraft.
Yeah, you're not playing. I'm not playing Valorant or anything. I'm playing fucking Teamfight Tactics, man. I'm playing Harry Potter Wizard Chess, League of Legends edition. But
what is the echelon that you esteem to rise to before you kind of like hang up your shoes?
I would like to make there's some things that I would like to dance, and I would like to make enough of an impact that people actually like have some semblance of an idea of who I am. Like, that'd be cool. Like, leave a mark on something.
Yeah.
Is
there like a favorite ballet or like a favorite character to dance? Sorry, I'm kind of bungling this a little bit because it's that element. But like, is there a favorite character in a performance that you'd like to be? A favorite number that you would like to be the main player in?
So the role that I want to dance is actually like very non-conventional. So in ballet, there are 2 roles that are always danced in drag, because it's just how it is. And that is the Ugly Stepsisters and Cinderella, Traditionally
That's
always
so
done by
great.
guys,
Yeah.
and it is every single guy that I know has done it. It is so fucking funny, and it is so fucking fun because it's just
Well,
like,
yeah, you get to frump it up, right? You're not trying to
yeah,
look like a girl. You're trying to look like a guy wearing girls' clothing.
right, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's just all about like selling the bit and doing the thing. But the other thing is that like the reason that these are like, I mean, these are like soloist roles. Like this is not like, you know,
Yeah.
they don't just give these to anybody, and that's because it is hard to dance poorly and make it look good. Like it's a joke.
Yes.
It's a gag. Like if you're not a beast, it just looks like shit. It just looks like
Yeah.
they're being ignorant or stupid or something like that. But like if they're good, it's a gag. It's fun. It's lighthearted. And like that would I think that's the role that I would want to dance the most. I would love to dance an ugly stepsister in Cinderella. I think it'd be so much fun. Those kind of like big character roles are just like really really enjoyable, and that is a very very big character role.
If there was someone that you could work with, whether it be dancing alongside, dancing partner with, or dancing under, like if there's a I don't know if maestro is the right word, but you know, a leader, who would you want to work with?
So I mean, don't meet your heroes. One of the some I did dance. I danced with one guy who I respected a lot. His name was Joseph Gotti, and I learned a lot from him. And it was a lot of fun getting to like share the stage with that guy, and that was fun. But I've already done that. One person that I like dancing with as an equal, which would be really cool, was like my childhood hero, which his name's Sasha Radetsky. A lot of people know him from Center Stage, which is a really really famous dance movie. Ethan Stiefel and Sasha Radetsky were like the two main stars of that. Everybody always loved Ethan Stiefel. They thought Ethan Stiefel was like the hot blonde guy, super cool. And he was like kind of the main character. But Sasha Radetsky was the guy that I always looked up to when I was growing up. And he's also just an awesome human being from everybody that I know that has interacted with him. And I've interacted with him briefly. I did like when I was like 13, I was like a party boy for American Ballet Theater's Nutcracker. And so like I was on stage when he was on stage, but I was, you know, your background decoration. You're not actually dancing. You're just there to fill out the stage. That's what super roles are. But I mean, like when I was a kid, there were not a lot of guys that, like in media that were like open and like who were like openly cool about being dudes and dancing. Like, you know, like,
yeah.
It's it's weird to say, but just like, you know, there also were just not a lot of straight guys in the media that were like, again, it was cool to be a dude and it was cool to dance and it was okay to like girls.
Yeah.
That was just not the message that dance was about in the 2000s. But Sasha Radetsky was very much like, I'm a guy and I dance and I'm good at it. And he was like one of the only guys that was actually like advertised that way, I guess. So I looked up to him a lot when I was growing up.
So back to growing up a little bit, was there ever a point playing Magic, dancing ballet, you're getting beat up, you're getting thrown in lockers? Was there ever a point you thought about like hanging up your shoes early?
No. I mean, fuck those kids.
Fuck the haters, love it.
Like I don't know. Like everybody I have met so many more hot girls than they have, and I've interacted with so much cooler people than they have. So it's just, if I have to pick my type-based occupation, like, would you rather pick the one where you're with like these super athletic, like just amazing people, or would you rather be like grabbing a ball between some guy's legs? Man, I don't know, like, and getting tackled for that ball. So I don't know, man. I was always the winner in those arguments normally, but
that's legitimate. This is like wild. My uncle grew up, I think he's born 1950. Literally had the exact same argument, like almost verbatim, for doing ballet in high school. Yeah, and like Southern California growing up, like this, like literally, I think his older brother Ken was like, "Dude, why are you doing this? It's so." I probably used the word queer at the time, you know, it's lame or whatever. Yeah, he's like, well, you know, if you do well in the football game, the cheerleader might, you know, jump in your arms. it's literally her job to jump into mine every night.
Yeah,
Yeah, game.
Well, the other thing is that I mean, just like you're just friends with these people. They're just people. So like you
Yeah.
know, and all when you're friends with the hot girls, you can be friends with the hot girls' friends. So like even though at that point they're like your sister, like you know you would never talk to them in any because like you know how disgusting they are or how you know it's just like
Yeah.
they're pretty. Don't get me wrong, but I would never date these people. And but I mean it's funny.
Yeah,
'cause,
I
like,
guess when you know what when you know the smell of their sweat before you know their middle name, probably not going to be a long-term relationship.
Yeah, and I mean,
in that
I dated,
regard.
I dated a lot of dancers. Like, I was a slut in my young 20s and stuff like that. But I like, and I met my girlfriend on, I've been dating my girlfriend for almost 3 years now, and I met her on Tinder, and I met her on Tinder in Canada when I was on vacation, and she lived in Montreal, um, and I wouldn't trade that relationship for the world.
Awesome.
But she's a fucking 4'11" Colombian girl who's a power lifter. And I'm 6'3", so
Well, going back to dance, if you can, if it's not too much, can you give us a day in the life, or if that's like if they change so much, what would a week in the life of a dancer look like?
no, I mean they're pretty streamlined. It's like I mean
Okay.
I wake up to go to work the same way that everybody else does, and then
When is work?
so it depends on the company. The company that I'm at right now, it is 9:45 to about 3, because again we're not paid enough to warrant like a full
Yeah.
8-hour workday. This company is Monday through Thursday. The company I was at before was Tuesday through Saturday. I've been at companies that are Monday through Saturday. Again, because it's just blatant disrespect and no regard for anybody's time, and you're literally just a dancing monkey. And you know why would this matter that they pay you $400 a month? But you take class in the morning and then you rehearse. You take class and then you rehearse. That's your day. It's your class is an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then after that it's just rehearsal. And then when you get to the shows, you go to the theater, and it's a lot less class centric. You'll do like an expedited class, so like a 30 to 45 minute class, because it's just about you're there to do one thing, that is the theater, and you tech, dress, set, everything. That process is grueling. You could be in the theater for like 6 to 7 hours just like working on lighting shit, where you're just standing on stage while the people in the booth change the colors of the lights. And then performances, there's normally no more than 2 shows in a day, a matinee and an evening show. Because if you're dancing more than that, like it's kind of hard to do a 2-hour program just over and over and over and over again. And stages are always harder than when you're in the studio. Like the floor is harder. Like there's less give, because the floors that you practice on are sprung. They're not like gymnast sprung, but they're designed to like take away a lot of the impact and like distribute it amongst the floor, so it's not in your knees. But stages are normally just like, I mean, they could be wood, they could be canvas, they could be steel, they could be a ton of different things. Then you like lay something on top of them and just let it go. Like a lot of people have like stood on their like high school stage or whatever, like in the theater room or something like that, like for graduation or something like that. That's what the stages feel like.
So I'm sorry, you said, not to rewind too much.
No,
you said $400 a month. What is your if you don't mind me asking, how much? What is your average kind of pay across these gigs? Like, is this is this like a living? Do you have a side job? Like,
yeah,
how much
most people have to have a side hustle of some degree. Like the company that I dance for in Rochester paid me $150 a week, so about $600 a month, so less than $13K a year. And that was 6 years ago, to be fair. So 13K went a little bit farther than it does now, but not by much.
Not that much, yeah.
And the company that I'm dancing for now, again, is a startup. So a lot of people are not paid anything. I'm paid a couple hundred, just because, again, it goes back to being a guy, and they need people. But we're paid like, I'm not paid monthly. We're paid stipends. So like we're paid by the show.
Okay.
And at larger companies, even the pay discrepancy is not that, like your average core dancer makes around 30 to 40K a year if they're lucky. If they're lucky, and that is at the biggest companies in the fucking state. I mean, in the country, not in the state.
Yeah.
And like soloists make like 50 to 70K a year, and principals make like 60 to 80K, 60 to 100K. Like they make a lot of their money in sponsorships and teaching and stuff like that. Like I get paid
Jeez.
my teaching rate. I get paid 50 an hour to teach. Like
Do you how often do you teach?
I mean I teach as much as people will give me work for, but it's hard. Like like these places only have so many classes a week, right? So like a lot of the times you can only get like if you have like 5 classes a week or whatever, for example, at a studio, because you don't want to be teaching it. The time slot is normally the same at a bunch of places. You also don't want to teach at a bunch of different studios. You want to build like a good reputation with one studio, and then they'll give you a lot more work and they'll stay with that. They don't want you like going to all these different places and doing all these different things. So like if you can teach 5 classes, 5-hour-and-a-half classes or whatever, that's like 7 to 8 hours of work a week. So that's you're getting paid 50 an hour, but that's not great. My side hustle has always been magic. Like I make decent money going to tournaments, and then like I used to grind moto for fucking $20 an hour, just sit and play leagues all damn day. That made me hate magic though, so I stopped doing that.
Yeah, that's the usual conclusion I've heard on that regard.
Well, it's just when you 4-1 to some donkey who fucking one-outered you, or you just like you played so well for an hour and a half, and then you just get fucking you mold a 5 and you get nutted on for like 2 games in a row. Normally you're just like annoyed. It's not that big of a deal, but when you're playing as your fucking livelihood, that guy just took $10 out of your wallet, and it is so infuriating. And it just like leads to a pretty unhealthy relationship with the game. And as soon as these games like start feeling like a job, you start playing worse, and playing worse affects your hourly. And then when your hourly goes to the shit, it's like it's a snowballing effect. But like I'm learning how to play poker. I play Teamfight Tactics, and I play Magic as like my side hustles. Those are pretty much my side jobs. And then I do I teach, and I do theater work, and I coach. Like I coach Magic and I coach TFT, and then I go to there's a theater unions that do like load in, load out stuff like that. Like it's like grunt work, like carry the floor and lay the floor.
Yeah.
Hang the lights, hang the drops, do that stuff. That's stuff that not every dancer knows how to do because they haven't had to do it, because normally they have people that do that for them. But at the first company that I danced at, I mean, again, it's a small company, so like we don't have people to do that for us. So the guys did all that. So like I know how to do all that shit, and that actually pays pretty well. But it is grueling labor. Like it is a lot, especially after you dance for 6 hours. It is a lot.
So what would you say is the biggest misconception about ballet by the wider world?
That everybody thinks that guys dance on point. They don't. Guys jump and they turn. That's all they do.
On point, you're talking about like they're not up on
like
their tippy toes, or
right? Like the girls wear a special shoe for that. It actually has a wooden block at the end of it. They're literally death traps for your feet. The girls call them coffins. Like they're fucking miserable. It's another one of the perks of being a guy. You don't have to do this shit. It is quite literally a wooden box wrapped in canvas, and then the shoe is like there's 2 parts of it. There's the box and there's the shank. The shank is what holds their arch in place and stuff like that.
Also not sounding comfortable.
Yeah, that is made of wood or steel or plastic, and then the box itself is a box. It is literally a fucking wooden box, and they wear like a very thin line of like lamb's wool or something like that. It's toe pads or like gel or silicone or something like that. And they put that on the edge of their feet so that it is a little bit more comfortable to stand on the tips of their toes on this wooden box, because that is what they're doing. And guys don't have to do that. So, but everybody always thinks that, guys stand on their tippy toes and do all that shit. No, guys just jump really high and they turn a lot. That's all they have to do.
Jump and turn, boys.
Yeah, literally, pretty much.
Well, in the same kind of thought process, in movies and TV, how is ballet shown incorrectly or correctly?
If
you have examples,
it really depends on the programming, because there are some shows that have actually depicted kind of, I mean, obviously like Hollywooded it up a little bit.
Sure.
Like Breaking Point, is a ballet show that actually like kind of depicts what it's like to be a dancer pretty well. And there was a show on Stars briefly, it's just like the radical extreme the other way, which was, it was called Flesh and Bone, which was like all the hot sex, dirty drama of ballet, which is like, it kind of happens, it kind of doesn't. Like TV normally focuses on like one of two different things. They either focus on the life, or they focus on like the abuse of power from the front of the room, like the director's sleeping with all the girls in the company, or like they're
Yeah.
paying out to some big donor. And the fucked up shit is that that does happen, and it happens way more than you think it does. Like there are some, I have known some people that, you know, they gotta get their paycheck somehow, so they have cozied up to some shady ass old men. And I had a teacher that I knew for a really long time who had a case against him because he was getting a little too friendly with the ballerinas in his back room. Like it's like bad shit does happen, so like that stuff is not made up. Like
Yeah.
but as far as like the actual like work and like being a dancer, like I think two of the best movies, like the two of the best dancer movies, are Center Stage and Billy Elliot. Those are very pretty accurate.
Oh, I'm
what it's
so
like
glad
to
to
be a
hear
dancer.
Billy Elliot's good.
Billy
That-
Elliot is such a, every boy, that is such a boy movie. Like if you talk to the girls about like what
Yeah.
which movie they like, it's always Center Stage. It's always Center Stage. But guys will say Billy Elliot because that is literally what it was like to be a guy and be in ballet. Because I mean, like anybody who doesn't know the story of Billy Elliot is a kid in the middle of in the middle of Europe who is just like your normal boy in the fucking 1940s, 1960s or whatever. And he sees some girls doing class, and like the people like try to bring him in to come take ballet, and he's like, no, I can't do that. You know, it's 1960s, I can't do that, it's gay, it's like, it's not cool. My dad would never allow it, stuff like that. And sure enough, like his dad was incredibly against it, and it's, but he did it anyways. Like he practiced in his bathroom. He went to class secretly and did that, and ends up at the end. This is another thing that actually happens a lot. You know, during like old school Russia, you know, like back in the day when it was not a good place to be, a lot of people could not afford food. They could not afford a lot of things. So like 3 square meals a day was a pretty big selling point for some people. And actually, I think Billy Elliot is centered around when the railroad strikes were going on, because I remember his dad was a railroad guy, and then it was a big deal that the strikes were happening. But one of my old Russian teachers, like in Russia, they would send somebody to the schools to evaluate if the children are the opt, like the perfect body to dance. Like, you know, they measured the kids, they checked their feet, they did all of the things. Like they looked at all of your physicality stuff to see if they wanted to take you to like Russian ballet boarding school. And they would come to your parents and they would offer you, they would tell their parents, they're like, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna suck, you know, like it's boarding school, they're gonna wake them up at 6 a.m. and they'll go to bed at 8 p.m. and they're gonna do a fucking 5-mile run in the morning followed by 9 hours of class and stuff like that, but they will have food and shelter. And for a lot of kids, that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So like that's another thing that's not particularly made up, like and during like those big Great Depression kind of era stuff, is that, you know, Europe in particular cares about the arts in a way that the states do not. So it's a lot more of a big deal over there to be a dancer than it is to be a dancer over here.
So on the kind of flip reverse of that, what would you say is your favorite non-obvious aspect to ballet?
Non-obvious.
Yeah, like when you tell people about it, they're like, "Wait, what?" And you're just like, "Oh yeah," and you just get to like revel.
Well, like performing is my favorite thing. So like there is a certain appeal to the fact that you are just doing something that is so not normal. Like a lot of people when people talk to you, like they're not expecting you to be a fucking ballet dancer, they're expecting you to be a coder or something stupid. Like they don't expect or to be in like sports or tennis or whatever. Like it's not. It is very different, and I've kind of always liked the fact that it was very different. And then I got to do these really cool things. Like the tricks that you learn in dance are so cool. And they're so much fun. They're scary as hell, but they're so fun.
So one of the interesting kind of things about this is that you talk about, you're playing Magic a lot, you're playing TFT a lot, you're going to tournaments. Where I met you, for those that all of you, I guess, because none of you are aware, is I met Robert playing Magic in Las Vegas at the World Championship after, for like the PTQ that was on Sunday, I guess, or no, Saturday. How, with a job that is so all encompassing, each day seems to matter a lot, is it very feasible to get like time off and, fly over? How does that kind of aspect work out with?
Well, so the thing is that at a certain point, your employer has to understand that I make more money playing Magic tournaments than they do paying me. So I'm going to fucking go whether they tell me I can or not. The company that I dance for currently, the fact that it's Monday through Thursday is fucking perfect for me. I fly out on Friday, I come home Sunday. Sometimes I have to take one day off on Monday at worst, which is like not that big of a deal. If you're not right up on a show cycle, it is not that big of a deal to take a day off.
Okay.
All these companies will make it seem like it is a giant deal. Like asking for time off in ballet is like a giant no-no. Like, I don't know. They don't even let you take sick days a lot of the time. Again, back into just like abuse and shit. It's just like the workplace environment is not great. But the place that I'm working for currently, like I've had to play 3 events since I've been here that I've had to travel for, and they've been super understanding about the fact that this is my job. This is what I do. Like I made like between $15,000 and $20,000 in Vegas. So like they can't, like, I don't know. I was going no matter what.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at that event, when we were talking, I was talking about conceding to people for prizes in the PTQ because I couldn't play on Sunday because I had to play the Secret Alert Showdown on Sunday.
Yeah. So
they're generally pretty they're generally pretty understanding. That being said, the company that I was at in Rochester was not very understanding. I very distinctly remember
Rochester.
I went to, it was GP Portland. I top 16. I made $3K on the weekend. And we drove through the night. I had 9:30 class, I think. We got back to Rochester at like fucking 7:15. I remember I got an hour of sleep. I remember showing up, warming up, and then I woke up at the end of the day, and I have no idea what happened. Like I lost all time. Like I have no idea what happened in between. And my ballet mistress was pissed. Ballet mistress is like female version of head of the room. Ballet master is male version of the head of the room. And they were just like, "You can't be doing this," and stuff like that. I was literally looking at her. I was like, "Bro, I literally made 3 months' pay in one weekend. Like, I'd do it again. Fuck off."
Wait, hold on. You made it back from Portland, Oregon, to Rochester, New York?
No. Sorry. Which fucking? I have Portland on the mind. I'm thinking Providence, the other P.
Okay. I was like, how did you make it all the way across the United States?
GP Providence.
Yeah, okay, that makes
Providence.
more sense.
Providence, yeah. I'm thinking Portland because I had to fly out there for my friend's wedding.
Okay.
I was supposed to just be a random wedding goer, and then I turned out to practically be a part of the fucking wedding party because none of the groomsmen knew how to get dressed, so I had to pin everybody's fucking corsages on. I had to do everybody's cufflinks. I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, what a great transition. So from the lovely to the lackluster, Robert, my friend, what is your preposterous peeve?
I hate when you just like talk to somebody and like you see like they're asking you questions, or you're having a conversation or whatever, or like you're coaching somebody and you go on for like 30 minutes down like one particular thing, whether it's magic, TFT, or ballet or something, and then 2 seconds later the person like turns around and looks at you, and they just say the things that you just said to them right back to you, and you're like, were you even listening? Like, what was the point of me just going on for the last 45 minutes? Like,
So you must really enjoy teaching little kids then.
oh, I hate children with a passion. I'm team summer vasectomies, and I anti-children.
Team summer vasectomies?
Yeah, that's when you got nothing better to do in the summer, so it's time to just like take a trip, man.
I have nothing better to do in the summer. Just might as well just get a vasectomy. I'm bored.
Well, no, you might as well just
my-
like say you save so much money on contraceptives, and you don't have
Oh
to
my god.
don't have to worry about that.
Team summer vasectomies. It's gonna fucking kill me forever. Oh.
I fucking hate kids, man.
Oh. When did you first notice this? Not necessarily this rage towards children, but this hatred of repetition for the kind of teaching.
Well, no, it's just it's not even like teaching is fine, but it's just like when you feel like you've covered the same topic like over and over and over again, it kind of just goes into like, do they actually want to learn? Are they just like are they just here because if you're here because you have to be, that's one thing, but when they're just like, oh no, I actually really want to learn this, it's like, or do you?
You sure?
Yeah.
When do you remember this first kind of coming about?
As long as I can think about like actually caring about something, that's been the case. Like, because I'm just like very passionate about the things that I enjoy and the things that I like care about. So when I'm like pouring out to that, and people are just like, yeah, and you're like, okay, go on, and they're like, oh no, that's it, and you're like, I'm glad we spent all this time doing this thing that you told me that you wanted to do. I literally, as long as I can remember, that's been the fucking case. Like,
so if when you were teaching, coaching somebody, would you rather they stopped you every other sentence if they didn't get like a certain point, or is, albeit annoying, better for them to wait till the end for you to like try to go through their whole rigmarole a second time?
I'd rather people just ask the questions. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't mind asking questions. I have a problem with stupid questions, but I don't have a problem with questions.
So if somebody doesn't get like a nuanced aspect, you're explaining to how for them to play a deck, how for them to do like a pirouette, and they're like, all right, and like it seems, that they're stopping you basically every other sentence, that's not going to bother you as much as if they wait till the end. Like, all right, could you just go over that one more time, please?
Well, I don't mind either of those interactions, but when it feels like you covered something like 2 or 3 times already, and then you go in it like, so for like TFT or something like that, like you spent a whole time like discussing like level intervals, like why you should roll, why you should do these things, and then you get into the next session, and they're like, so when do I level again? Do I level here? I was like, I'm pretty sure we've covered this like 4 or 5 times at this point. Yes, maybe think about it for a little bit and then ask the question. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I just want people to like actually feel like they're learning, or like at least trying to learn, and not just having me like do everything for them.
Oh, okay. I feel you. So do you perhaps have a story of this preposterous peeve really just ruining a day?
One of my best friends, Paul, I call him every day. The 2 people I call pretty much every day are my mom and Paul on my way home from work. And he does this all the fucking time, and it drives me fucking crazy. I can tell when he's not paying attention to what I'm saying. So like, I do like a lot like metagame analysis and stuff like that. Is like, he's a Magic guy, so like we talk about Magic all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll we'll be going down. There's two things he does that pisses me the fuck off. One is he doesn't play Modern at all, and he like tries to have opinions on Modern, so he's just like bullshit he'll like bullshit some random cards that he knows are in Modern. He plays a lot of Magic. He's good at Magic, and he'll just fucking. It's like, oh yeah, like the up the beanstalk cards, like going crazy right now. Like, what do you think they should ban in Modern? I'm like, Paul, you don't play this format, just shut the fuck up. But I'll talk to him and I'll go through like all of these lines, all of these things, and we're talking, and he just goes, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes, really, you fucking asshole." Like, what do you mean, really? Like.
Really?
Yeah, nothing. Just really. And I'm like, yes, Paul.
that that epitaph I just dropped on you. Yes, really, bitch.
Yeah, like I'm like, you fucker. Like, Jesus Christ, man.
I just gave you the codex, homie. Pay attention.
Well, like, I've been talking for the last 45 minutes, and you're literally just like, really? Like. No, have you ever not really. Yes.
Not really. Hang up the phone. And with that, with that chuckle, we're gonna head to our second ad break. But don't go anywhere, because when we get back, Robert is gonna enter the lightning round. This podcast is sponsored by Puppets. One of the easiest things you can do with your hands and a light source in a dark room. Over human history, millions of people have used puppets to great enjoyment. With limitless possibility and no upfront costs, puppets will have your hands busy forever. Or until the power comes back on. So what are you waiting for? The power to go out? Oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, but when it does, we'll see you and your puppets on the wall. And we're back. Robert, are you ready to enter lightning round?
The lightning round?
Yeah.
All right, buckle your seatbelts and keep your arms inside the ride at all times.
No.
Robert, is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
$10 million.
Make the food or do the dishes?
Oh, make the food.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
No.
Pineapple on pizza or fist fight?
Oh, pineapple's lit.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
Something amazing.
Is professional wrestling cool or lame?
Both.
Do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them?
Depends on the day.
Album, shuffle, or playlist?
Radio, but shuffle.
Is there such a thing as a perfect piece of art?
No.
Have you ever had a crush on a cartoon character?
Yes.
Are you out of touch or is it the children who are wrong?
It's definitely the children that are wrong.
What is more important, freedom or structure?
Freedom.
Would you rather have tentacle arms or kangaroo legs?
Kangaroo legs for sure.
Human in a world of Muppets or a Muppet in a world of humans?
Human in a world of Muppets.
Would you rather meet an alien or a ghost?
I mean, I've already met plenty of ghosts, so an alien.
Are hot dogs tacos?
No. Fuck off with that.
Would you go to a music festival on the moon?
Yeah.
Skydiving or deep sea diving?
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's neither an option, but it probably skydiving.
Subbed or dubbed?
Dubbed. No. Sub. What am I fucking saying? I had to think about that for a second. I got baited there for a second. My brain was somewhere else. It's sub.
Yeah, it was. Do you like reading in the bathroom?
No.
Would you rather be stranded in the desert or at sea?
At sea.
Would you rather have your fries cost double or have your fries always come out cold and soggy?
I'd rather just cost double.
Do you pee in the shower?
Of course. Anybody who says they don't are fucking lying, for the record.
Lastly, could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1 hour time limit?
Yeah, I do that for free.
Well, congratulations. You've survived the lightning round. Woo! Pew, pew, pew. Now, before we move on, I, like many listeners at home, would like to now know, what is your favorite food that you could eat 37 of in a 1 hour time limit for $5,000?
That I could eat 37 of them?
Yeah.
Ravioli.
Oh, that's a cheatsy answer, but I respect it. What's your go-to? What is the perfect ravioli?
Probably lobster rav, like lobster and spinach rav, or just like truffle and cheese. That's also a strong one.
We're just hitting top shelf on other end. Love it. All right, now as a reward, my gallant guest, I grant thee a lightning round question of your own to be echoed until we get bored of it. What you got for us?
Oh, well, my lightning round question sucks, man. Do you believe in karma? Or are you superstitious?
I think acting on karma is good, but I don't believe in karma, if that makes sense.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there are like literal benefits to living a karmic life, like a karmically just life, but I don't believe that like karma is a force in the world, if that tracks. Like the idea, like as I understand it, the idea of karma is that you do good and good is sent back to you.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I think if you do good, you do better. Like I feel like it's a locomotive motion kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
now hear me out.
Love it.
I want you to think back to every single time that you've ever offered a split or denied a split.
Okay.
I would like you to think of every single time that you've ever said no to somebody offering you a split and how quickly you've lost after.
I've either never lost or only lost one time after denying a split because I very rarely do it. And I'm very
running harder than God.
I'm running harder than God, but I also pick my spots really well. I have offered what was it? I think every single time in the finals of a qualifying event where I've gotten the opportunity and offered, hey, do you want to move second or first place just gets the invite and second place just gets the prize.
Yeah, I'm a big all on second gamer.
Yeah, I'm a big all on second gamer too. Every time I have done that, so first time I ever played against Jerry Thompson was in a GPT. I got rinsed because he was on Theps, which was like the best deck in Extended when it existed. And also I was really tired. And Cedric Phillips ate a cheeseburger in front of me, which didn't help because I was also very hungry. And I played like shit.
Classic Steady P being the bad guy.
Yeah, and Jerry Thompson just over here mopping face. I think Jerry was also eating. I think that's why Cedric went and got him and Jerry burgers. Anyway, Jerry offers the split, hey, do you want to just second place get everything, first place gets the buys? And I was like, nah, man. He's like, okay, and just beat the shit out of me. Just
as it should be. As
it should be. And from that moment on, I kind of learned that lesson in that regard. I always offer that split. Every time moving forward after that, I offered that split and was denied. I immediately cleaned house. I've never lost after.
That's how it works.
Yeah, but in top eights where it's like, hey, do you guys want to do a prize split? If I've got like a favorable matchup and I pass, I've always won, I think, or always but once.
Scum.
Yeah, I'm the worst. Advantage gamer.
You're supposed to be smote down by God in that moment. Instantly struck down by lightning.
Well,
you're allowed to not offer it, but if you no sir it, you're dead. You're just dogs.
All right, my friend, as we come to a close here, anything you want to plug, shout out, or places people can find you or your content?
My Twitch is twitch.tv/Senbon, SEHNBON. It's based off Senbon Sakura from Bleach. But Senbon is like taken everywhere, and Senbon Sakura is also taken everywhere and too long on most things. And then my Twitter is just my name. It's twitter.com and then Rob Stanley _ Rob_Stanley MTG. That's it. That's all I got.
Love it. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Past Me. And also, thank you, Robert, for being my guest today. And a special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And thank you. Yes, you. Listening at home or wherever you find time to appreciate this. Time really is the most precious commodity we have, and I appreciate you spending yours with us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry. We put out a new episode every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And a very special thanks are due to our patrons, Sabella Yellow. And if you would like to join said illustrious ranks and have your name read aloud, just head on over to patreon.com/Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And remember, folks, if days are numbered and songs are sung, at the end of the day, I think we've all won. So please stick around, because great things have only just begun.